I now invite you to grab your chalice, your candles, your incense, your electric or battery operated lights, or the chalice within your heart, and join me in our chalice lighting. Today we're lighting this chalice for the imperfections, for the spirit of trying and trying again, for all the ways we show up in this world, in our community, with hope, with spirit, and with a willing heart. Good morning and welcome. I'm Reverend Amanda, and I'm joyed to be here with you today, this morning, live and in living color. Welcome to each of you, whether you're in this space in real time, or if you're joining later on, watching on YouTube, or even listening on the podcast, welcome to each of you. This is a space of community, spirit, and service. We bring our brokenness, our willingness, our hope, and our fullness. As we sink into this time, this morning, and this moment, may we connect with one another. May we connect with each other's spirits. May we connect with each other in our hearts and in our homes. And in that spirit, come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Cliff Harden, Music Director at River Road. I would like to share with you this morning the prelude from my suite for piano.
This morning, for our time for all ages, we welcome you, of course, to this time together, to this live service with high-tech tools and perhaps some not so high-tech storytelling strategies. I wanted to talk today, in our time for all ages, about the grace that comes when we least expect it, and about what can happen when we transform our mistakes into something perhaps more beautiful than it ever could have been if we did it all right in the first place. And to start talking about that, I just want to lift up what a joy it was when I was a little kid to go to the 7-Eleven or any gas station of any kind that has all those soda machines and take all of the flavors and mush them all together into one great brown glop that tasted indeterminately like nothing at all and like a pure rush of sugar. Did you ever do that? I'm a grown-up now, and so I mostly just keep to one soda flavor. But I know exactly what that flavor looked like. It looked brown. and it was wonderful and it was weird. And when you are in the midst of doing a creative project, painting something, making something new, what happens when you mush all the colors of your palette together is something quite similar. And in these pandemic days, my family and I, we have been crafty. I tell you, we have crafted every dang thing we can get our hands on. And when my kids paint a painting, this is what the little piece of paper that they daub their brushes off comes to look like. A big glop of brownish purplish stuff. And I wonder if, instead of wanting our paintings to look perfect, we might take these works in progress, this great mush of mistakes and efforts that comes together to create something new, if we might take it and transform it in our own lives. When we paint and when we create and when we try to make anything new at all in the world, there are blips and bloops. There are mistakes, there is spilled paint, there are all the ways that we have to improvise to get to whatever beautiful thing it is we are trying to make. The blips and bloops in my house are never quite finished when we've made whatever glorious painting we're trying to make. Because in my house, what we like to do is take our blips and bloops, our mistakes and our swirls and our mushed together nothingness that we think is so imperfect and ugly. We like to take it and transform it into something new. These blips and bloops are maybe more beautiful than the actual thing we were trying to paint in the first place. And if you today feel like you'd like to participate and play along in the service, or even keep your fingers busy while we're in the middle of all of our talking, maybe pull out a marker, make your own blip or bloop, your own beautifully imperfect thing, and see what your imagination can come up with out of the messy middle of all of our efforts to create something out of everything that feels broken. Our blips and bloops can take many forms. Our creativity can take shape in all sorts of ways. Let yourself this week be blessed by the imperfect. Let yourself be blessed by what can be built only in the face of that imperfection. You might be inspired by my blips and bloops. You might create your own. This one, by the way, is my favorite. That's a happy turtle. This one is a happy frog. Just know that on your way to greatness, on your way to a whole new thing, there may always be an uncertain and imperfect blob that is the starting place of all you yet can bring into the world. May we be creative. May we be imperfect. May we take the muddled mix of the blips and bloops of this world and choose to bless each other with something new. Amen.
Good morning. I'm Jan Elliker. I'll be our song leader this morning for the service. Our opening hymn is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place by Joyce Poley. The words are in the chat, so please join me in singing. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace when our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
There, as always, is so much happening in the life of our congregation. We adapt in 1,000 ways to the moment to meet what history asks of us and what we yearn for most in our hearts and for one another. There are plenty of things to announce today for you to mark your calendars for, starting with the fact that there's great stuff happening in worship in the coming weeks. You should save the date for next Sunday. It is our annual animal blessing service. No less fantastic because we'll do it online. You need to send in your photos for our pet parade that we'll share during the early bird session and in the after party. Send those by Tuesday, August 18th, so we can get them all together and have a really wonderful time grounding ourselves in these relationships with our animal companions that give us hope in the midst of it all. We also want you to pay attention to all the great things that are happening on August 30th. We have an amazing, deep, and heart-centered lay-led service on August 30th that touches on our commitments to the environment and how those commitments sustain us. Like, I'm not making it up, it is very moving. And the presenters are multi-generational and speaking from the heart about this call in these times to be stewards of our earth. And that same day, on August 30th, we invite you to join in a information session about our response to COVID-19, about how our programming and our life together will adapt in the fall to this moment. Our survey, gathering your feedback and information about what your heart yearns for in these COVID-19 times, is already closed, but you can submit your questions for the information session. And it's at togetherasone@ruuc.org. And if you submit your questions now, we'll be able to prep and have really clear responses when we come together. Also very exciting, on that same day, August 30th, there's a river flowing in this place. There has been a river flowing in this place for 65 years and it flows still. And we want to invite you to an all-congregation event that will happen in a safe, masked, and socially distanced way during a 3-hour drop-in period between 3:30 and 6:30. On that day, you can participate in water communion, either on foot or from the safety of your car. You can pick up a specially designed take-home kit for spiritual deepening and participation in interactive worship. And you can get a back-to-school blessing for every single one of us making the transition to the unusual and exciting year ahead. There's more information you'll see in the e-weekly, but be on the lookout. It'll be good to connect, safely, of course, and to gather together as we have every fall for each of these last 65 years. It's also a time to get connected to our social justice work. Now more than ever, Get Out the Vote efforts could not be more important, and the preservation of voting rights has never been more essential. Follow our e-weekly for the latest on our congregation's Go Vote 2020 initiatives. It is a changing dynamic, and our strategies change weekly, so we need to do our part to ensure a fair and free election. On Friday nights, you can, of course, attend our ongoing Black Lives Matter vigils. And newly, last Friday and this coming Friday, you can purchase a water bottle to help sustain our commitments to green sanctuary and to environmental efforts. That is sponsored by our animal ministry team. And the water bottles have really sweet River Road logos on them. So we hope you will join us. You can also find out about River Road's ongoing racial justice initiatives through the Let's Talk About Racial Justice series. On our YouTube channel, Reverend Amanda and key lay leaders Jenny Sauer and Joan Zenzen have already posted some reflections on what that process looks like. So check that out, and you can go deeper in the coming weeks. All of this is happening all around us, and so much is happening in our homes and in our hearts. I invite you, right where you are, to take a deep breath and think on the joys and concerns that hold your own heart today. This week, the nation's eyes turn to what some journalists have called the hardest job in the world. As the major party tickets for the presidency of the United States of America have come together, we enter a new phase of this election year. And so our prayer is for the people and for the candidates, for the right to cast a ballot and the ability to do so in a safe and timely way. With restraints and repressions all around, we act, we work, and we hold each other up, along with the legacy of all those who fought their whole lifetimes to enfranchise every American. It is our fight to keep it, what they have won through their labor. We also hold up members of our community, friends who are holding perhaps more than usual on their hearts. Chris Mccann, our religious educator for children, was hospitalized with a ruptured appendix this week. She returned home on Tuesday. She is going to be fine. She wants everyone to know that some of the meetings she had scheduled might be delayed, but we'll get to it, and we hold her in our hearts. We also send our love to Vanna Heaton upon learning of the death of another extended member of her family, her aunt-in-law, Dorothy Yancey, from COVID-19. She died on Thursday, August 6th in St. Louis, Missouri, where she was being treated for the disease. Carol Kramer's family asked for love and good wishes after Carol had abdominal surgery this week. Carol also is doing fine, though the surgeon said she might wake up feeling like she'd done 500 sit-ups, and her family and friends are considering each doing 500 sit-ups in solidarity. We also hold Carolyn Labulio, who grieves the passing of her mother, Martha Lou Finney, this week, a loving soul who raised a loving soul. And our hearts are with them all in this time of loss. Finally, it's important to take a space, to make a space, to carve one out for peace, for meditation, for prayer, for hope, where we may not have expected to find it. Our prayer this morning is called Choose to Bless the World by the Reverend Rebecca Parker. Won't you join me? Your gifts, whatever they are, can be used to bless or to curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting, any of these can be used to feed the hungry, to bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love when it is needed most. Any of these can draw down the prison door, can hoard bread, can abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must ask the question, what will I do with my gifts? Take these gifts and choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is also an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, of grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of this broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, evil, there moves through these things a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting that which is sacred will not be defiled, Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty, for this rage. The choice to bless the world is yours to make. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude to search for the sources of power and grace, of wisdom, healing, and liberation. Perhaps the choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith. The life of ritual and praise, the comfort of friendship, the company of the earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world, but together there is another possibility waiting. So let us choose to bless the world. Amen.
Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. Let's sing together. The words are in the chat. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Each week at River Road, we have the opportunity to practice generosity. This can be through giving as a spiritual practice, and generosity is something that feeds our souls. There's so many ways to give here at River Road. You can, of course, go online to rruuc.org/giving, or you can text to give. The text to give number is 73256. That's 73256 plus RRUUC plus the amount. However you give and whenever you give, please know that what you give helps build this community stronger during these times, helps us connect to one another, helps us deliver our life-saving message to the world, helps us to be a community that supports and stands by its values always. However you give, please give as you are willing and able.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am the light, all light. mistakes that I have made, or any other things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all mine. I am a god on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am.
Perhaps many of you haven't been here for a while. Perhaps the walkway leading up to the main entrance at River Road isn't a walkway you have trod in a time. But it is just as dramatic and as beautiful as it has always been. I have been up that walkway more times than I can count, in more states of being than I can name. I remember sitting in those woods, staking out the Black Lives Matter banner back when it got vandalized seemingly every day. As if I was going to do anything when I caught the vandals, but I staked it out with a lawn chair, watching. I remember walking up that hill when I was pregnant with a giant baby and feeling like it was a mountain. And most of all, I remember watching you all come up through the trees, umbrellas in hand, Sunday after Sunday, even when the rain poured down. Now, perhaps a month ago, in this strange pandemic time, I found myself with the rare opportunity to walk up the path to the building, just like I have so many times before, to park in my own parking spot, perks of the job, and to make my way up through the trees. I was pondering whatever it was I was there to do, to pick something up maybe, or to drop off a check, I don't know. When I got to the second landing leading up through the trees, I looked up toward the building and I saw what appeared to be a splotch of paint. Right next to the crosswalk at the entrance, I saw a splotch of paint. And immediately my lizard brain kicked in. Someone has vandalized us, I thought. Someone has come up here into our space and they have painted something awful. They, whoever they are, have gotten us again, I thought. The people who wish us ill, the people who are out to get us, they've done something to us, I thought. And the pace of my footsteps and of my heart picked up as I approached this building which is sacred to us. And do you know what my footsteps found when I got here? I bet some of you do. The blotch which my mind immediately turned into evidence of threat turned out to be, I'll show you if you'd like to see it. Right there next to the crosswalk, right there where our footsteps would pass if we could pass each other on a Sunday morning, that thing which had made me so afraid turned out to be a surprise. Here it comes. A heart. A heart painted right next to the crosswalk, which my eyes and my feet approached coming up through the woods. A heart to greet the way. That is what my lizard brain had turned into a threat. That is the gift that I found so intimidating. That was the blessing that waited. And I swear, once my lizard brain got through the threat and the fear of risk, the next thought I had was perhaps just as irrational and as unlikely. I thought, they have seen what we are doing in this difficult time, this mysterious they, whoever they are, they in the community have seen the love that we are bringing to these complicated days, and they have come along in the dark of night to tag us with their gratitude. Yes, in my brain, some stranger from the neighborhood or the world at large had noticed our efforts and had blessed us for it. We had earned that gift, I thought. That heart, the mark of a job well done. And in fact, I thought that all weekend long until I came to staff meeting the following Tuesday, and our facilities manager, Mandy Kelly, who I love with my whole beating heart, abashedly asked if anyone had seen the spot where she had spilled the paint in the driveway. I turned it into a heart, she said, all embarrassed. And I could have cried because I loved it so much better that way. To be concise, and to summarize the journey of my brain and the spilled paint, which might not be so different from journeys your own brain might take in these uncertain times. First, I thought someone was out to get us. Then, I thought somehow we had earned this blessing through grit and hard work and effort. And then only days later did I come to see that we ourselves had simply transformed our mistake into something glorious. Only days later could my brain catch up to the reality that what we experienced was a kind of grace, unearned and unbidden, that only happens when you transform the circumstances in front of you, the imperfection and anxiety and effort, when you transform all of that into love. Now, I don't want to overburden the metaphor here, but that's what preachers do. Those three phases of my brain: the lizard brain that fears the worst, the ego brain believing we've earned every blessing, and finally the baffled brain receiving the full and unbidden gift of grace. I imagine we have all been in those three places at some point over the last 5 months or so. To take that first response, the idea that surely they are out to get us, to take that first reaction a little bit further, I think it is safe to say that these days we are often walking around in the world with a heightened sense of our own vulnerability, that we are often walking around attuned to an unusual degree to the risks that come along with simply living, that we are often looking out for all the ways that threat might be around the next corner. We are attuned to threat. Our brains are ready to see it, partly because the world is actually threatening, of course, because the risks are real, because it is not an imaginary thing to wonder when and how those myriad threats we face will come home to our own driveway and our own house and make themselves known. We pace the walled off spaces of our hearts and our neighborhoods looking for the next threat, because it is actually possible that they, whoever they are, or it or them, have come to cause us harm. They've done something to us, I thought, as I walked through the woods. They've done something, and my whole heart tingled with what soldiers call situational awareness, a heightened sensitivity to the environment whose primary purpose is to identify and neutralize a threat. Now, I'll tell you, situational awareness is good in short doses. It gets us out of circumstances we could never face alone, but when this tingling dread, this heightened sense of risk, when it becomes our norm, when it is our day-to-day emotional reality, it is not only exhausting, it is spiritually deadening, unhealthy, more than we can take. The world cannot crackle with threat at every corner, or we will find that threat everywhere we look, which is why we sometimes move to the next response. The belief that if we work hard enough, do well enough, labor long enough, that all of this crackling fear can be transformed through our diligent efforts into hope. My God, I thought, someone has snuck onto our property in the middle of the night with the sole purpose of vandalizing us with love. Someone has noticed, I thought. Someone has noticed what we stand for in this place and has come to thank us for it, albeit in a weird way. Out of this desolation, I thought, we wrestled out a blessing. And I am used to imagining, as perhaps some of you are, I am used to imagining that that is the way it always is with blessings. That they only come on the tail end of much effort, as a reward for sheer tenacity, earned by what we pour into it and the transformative power of our own agency to turn what is into what could be. The history of religion is full of these stories, that the blessings only come after the struggle, the heroes who fight to earn their way, the ones who put in the time to pour hope out of desolation. My favorite such story is this very strange, beautiful vignette in Genesis. Perhaps you know it. It is a foundational moment in the history of the Hebrew people when Jacob, the hero who would be a patriarch, the father of the people. So Jacob, he finds himself one night cold and alone in the desert. It is the dark of night and nothing is around him, and no great nation has yet been founded from these ashes. There is nothing much to show for himself in that place except for his family and his courage and his grit. So there's Jacob, right? A stand-in for all of us in the scriptural tradition. There's Jacob all alone when he sees before him in the desert another man, a man of great beauty and grace, a man whom history has called an angel, no less. The angel is right there in front of him, bright as daylight in the long dark night, blocking the way, threatening, even rather menacing. And so Jacob does the only thing he can think to do. He fights that angel. He literally wrestles that angel. The two of them fight all through the whole night. They wrestle until Jacob's limbs ache and his hip pops out of socket, and still the man fights on. Finally, the angel sees that he cannot best Jacob, and he begs the patriarch to let him go. I will not let you go, says Jacob. I will not let you go unless you bless me. And so the angel does this strange and mysterious force. He blesses Jacob. He renames him Israel, the one who struggled with God. And a nation is born, and the leader is blessed, not because of an easy grace that just shows up out of the blue, but because of the pure, raw, muscular tenacity to not let go until a blessing emerges from the midst of desolation. That is the kind of blessing I am accustomed to. The kind we have to wrestle out. Blessings I have come to experience are not something that just kind of happen. We have to believe, we have come to believe that blessing occurs more or less because we've earned it, because we have somehow wrestled the imperfect and broken circumstances of the world down to the ground through our own effort, through blood and sweat and the bitter taste of our tears. This perspective, this way of thinking, it is the Protestant work ethic and American individualism and the suburban meritocracy all wrapped into one and served up on a plate in every Bethesda living room. If you're going to get anything out of this world, you have to work for it. You have to give evidence that you deserve it. You have to put in the time. You have to do some reps, dang it. You got to get it done. And sometimes all of us are Jacob wrestling the angel, demanding our blessing when the long, hard night of our good fight is done. And sometimes when we are so busy being Jacob, we are also so tired from the sheer and unceasing labor of it all that perhaps we are not even looking when another kind of blessing drops right down in front of our feet, unbidden and unearned. It is a shocking idea. We are not used to being blessed out of the blue, loved without effort or hard labor. We are not used to the experience of grace. Grace, the unearned and undeserved gift that comes from everything holy, including each other, when we least expect it and can't imagine it. Grace, which catches us off guard and is by its very nature a surprise. The third response. I think so often we are not used to the experience of grace, so much so that we barely register it when it comes. The kind of blessing that comes from spilled paint and a pandemic, when absolutely nothing is as we planned and not much of anything is perfect, and we choose to bless each other and to notice the blessings that have been waiting all along through no great effort of our own. There is so much we cannot change. Paint splotched on the surface of the world. Whether we ever could have chosen it, the spilled drips and drabs of our plans and even some of our dreams are right there. And you know that we are fighters. And we will fight for the blessings that lie ahead some of the time. We will wrestle all that is holy and some of what is not holy to the ground, if it means, for instance, that we can wring some blessings out of this broken democracy of ours. We will pull a muscle if we have to change the state of the world. But sometimes and some days, out of the imperfect and yet still beautiful raw materials before us, we can perceive a gift of love that we didn't have to earn, that we didn't have to fight for. We can be surprised by the grace and blessing of the world, even in the midst of everything we didn't expect. We can experience grace that transforms this mess before us into a reminder that we are loved. If we are able to perceive anything but our fear, that spot which grace places in our path may just await. Even in the midst of rage and loneliness and uncertainty, we can choose to bless each other and bless the world. Just like Mandy did when she turned that spotty splotch into a heart. We can choose to bless the world, not because the world earned it, but because our love is real. In Reverend Rebecca Parker's words from our meditation today, those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty and this rage. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude to search for the sources of power and grace, of wisdom, healing, and liberation. More often, the choice to bless the world will draw you into community, into a shared endeavor. The comfort of friendship, the company of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world, but together there is another possibility waiting. And so let us choose to bless the world. And let us be on the lookout, not just for the threat around every corner, or for the good fight we must fight to get through, but also for the enduring surprise of grace, for spilled paint in the pandemic that reminds us we are loved each and every day, starting now. And now, may the truth that makes us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies, guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away.
As a musical benediction, I offer to you Revelation number 3.
As we extinguish our chalice, a few words of gratitude and words of thanks to all who made this service possible. A big thank you to the worship team and the worship leaders, especially our musical leaders, Jan and Cliff this morning, as well as Linda Ryden, and everyone who contributes to music digitally in this virtual time. A big thanks to David Leonard for his help in the sound engineering and his help with our rehearsal and our run through. And of course, a huge thanks to Beth Ericura for running this, for hosting this, for getting these seamless transitions and unmuting us and admitting people to our co-hosts and to all of you, each of you. We are always building community. When we choose to come, when we choose to show up, when we choose to put in our effort and our willingness, we are building this community together. And we extinguish the chalice with that in our hearts today and every single day, choosing to bless the world.